hostile takeovers to, well, hostile takeovers. Stay tuned to number 1 to find out what country was created by sheer brute force. Number 10, USA. Okay, this one should be a no-brainer for most. The vast areas which today are a part of the USA were once colonized by many European countries from the 16th century onwards. England, France, Spain, and the Netherlands were there first, followed by later settlers to the new land. It would be impossible to fit the colonial history of the US into this brief overview, but you can be sure it's full of death, adventure, innovation and new design, horror and atrocities, personal stories from both sides, and many other geographical and political changes which have, ultimately, for better or worse, shaped the USA as it is today. From the colonial period of the early 16th century onwards, the indigenous people of modern-day US have experienced massacres, terror, systematic military occupations, removal from ancestral territories, destruction of ritual and ancestral lands, and much more. When you think about the United States, just like South America and other places around the world, it's important not to forget that their often brutal history is what created their current countries today. Number 9, the islands of Hawaii. Okay, so technically this is now a part of the US, but the Hawaiian Islands were first settled by Polynesians sometime between 124 and 1120 CE, and went on to experience a period of isolation for 500 years before the Europeans showed up, led by British explorer James Cook. The islands were later unified by King Kamehameha, who conquered the other rulers and established the Kingdom of Hawaii. The native Hawaiian population suffered significant losses soon after the first contact, with estimates suggesting their population went from around 300,000 to only 70,000 in under 50 years. After all of this, in 1893, American colonists, who controlled Hawaii's sugar-based economy, overthrew the kingdom and established the Republic of Hawaii. And within 5 years, the U.S. had annexed Hawaii as a territory, forming the eventual state as we know it today. The contact with the West and subsequent colonialism and other Western influences accelerated the deconstruction of the Hawaiian religion and society, which had stood for over 600 years. Number 8, Australia. We're traveling to the other side of the world for this next entry. Australia, like Hawaii and all of the other examples on this list, had a thriving culture before colonial powers decided to colonize the land. As with the Native Americans, the colonial power, in this case the English, forced the Aborigines off their land, and many were beaten and killed, while others contracted diseases that the colonists brought with them. When the English arrived in 1788, there was believed to be hundreds of thousands, possibly even millions of native Australians across the land. With an estimated 250 to 300 different languages believed to have been in use at the time of contact, more than half of these have disappeared altogether. Unfortunately, through the actions of the colonists, many tribes were completely wiped out, while others battled to maintain their culture. The colonists first named the land New South Wales, and it wasn't until 1794 that the name Australia was specifically applied to the land. However, it additionally wasn't until 1817 that Australia appears to have been officially used. As with each of the other entries on this list, a mere 200 words is not enough to explain the atrocities committed by the English, or to explain the new technological advances that they brought with them. But there are plenty of books, documentaries, and sources available for your investigation. Number 7, Myanmar. Myanmar has been in the news a lot in the recent months due to the plight of the Rohingya Muslim population who are being driven from their homes. The prehistory of modern-day Myanmar dates back to 11,000 BCE, and from 200 BCE onwards, different kingdoms rose and fell. Then, in 1824, the British decided to colonize the country, which was then known as Burma, and subsequently became known as British Burma. Before the arrival of the British, Burma was wealthy because of its strategic positions between China and India, and was ruled by the Kongbong dynasty. When the British colonized the country, they disposed of the royal family, and they exiled to India, where they lived for over 20 years before the death of the last king of Burma. Traditional Burmese society was drastically altered by the demise of their monarchy, and the British controlled their new province through direct rule, making various changes to the governmental structure as well as influencing some cultural changes. It wasn't until 1937 that Britain separated the Burma province from the British India, and it would be a further 11 years until they gained their own independence from the UK. The official name chosen for the country at the time of independence was Burma, but today the country is known as Myanmar, or Myanmar in English. The different names for the modern-day Myanmar are so complex as to not do it justice in just one video. Number 6. Ivory Coast. Côte d'Ivoire, also known as the Ivory Coast, was a French colony. 5 important states flourished in the Ivory Coast in the pre-European era. When Europeans first started commercial contact with West Africa, the Ivory Coast was subject to the influences the Europeans brought with them. However, permanent trading posts were not immediately established. It wasn't until 1893 that the Ivory Coast was officially made a French colony. The local rulers ultimately lost their sovereignty, in part because they were unable to counter French deception and military force. Once France had control of the colony, they set about traveling inland to establish new posts and often met resistance from locals, such as Samori Touré, who established an empire that extended over parts of modern-day Ivory Coast. As with every other colonial power, the French used military force to squash the resistance and succeeded in capturing Touré in 1898. But this wasn't the first or last time France would have to fight to maintain its control. In 1905, the French officially abolished slavery in most of French West Africa. However, they continued to govern the area, often adopting divide-and-rule policies to maintain power. Finally, in 1960, the Ivory Coast, as it is known today, gained full independence from France. But this was not the end of the troubles for the region, and in the subsequent years they saw civil wars and conflict with France, which continued all the way into the 21st century. Number 5. Argentina. Like many other modern South American countries, Argentina was colonized by the Spanish. In fact, the easiest way to know which South American countries were colonized by the Spanish Empire is by looking at which countries still have Spanish as their official language today. The country, as we know it today, didn't exist pre-colonial period. And even during Spanish rule in the region, the boundaries were not as they are today. The history of Argentina can be divided into 4 main parts. Pre-Columbian times, the colonial period, which ended in 1810, the nation-building period, and then modern Argentina, from 1880 onwards. It wasn't until the Peninsular War in Spain and the capture of the Spanish King Ferdinand VII that many of Spain's colonies in the Americas thought that, without a king, the people should rule themselves. This ultimately resulted in the Revolution of 1810. Although the country we know today as Argentina was not formed at this point, modern-day Argentina was shaped to some extent by its colonial past. Before we move on, take a moment to like this video and don't forget to subscribe to more videos from Zero to Hero. Number 4. New Zealand. New Zealand was the last habitable place in the world to be discovered. First settled by the ancestors of Maori, it's believed they arrived from Polynesia between 1200 and 1300 CE. The first Europeans, a Dutch explorer called Abel Tasman, visited the area in 1643, but it wasn't until 127 years later that another European visitor, this time our previously discussed Captain James Cook, visited the area. European whalers and sealers started visiting regularly, and then came the traders. By the 1830s, the British government was being pressured to curb lawlessness in the country and also to preempt the French, who were considering New Zealand as a potential colony, which resulted in the English establishing their own colony. Over the next couple of decades, the Maori, a term that didn't exist until the Europeans arrived, were forced to sell their land or have it taken from them. The independence of New Zealand is continuously debated, both academically and socially, and there is no fixed date for the independence. Instead, this topic is so debated that we can't even begin to scratch the surface of it in this video. But it is clear that modern-day New Zealand was shaped by its colonial past. Number 3. Brazil. As with many South American countries, the history of Brazil begins with indigenous people and dates back over thousands of years. The first inhabitants of Brazil are thought to have mainly lived on the coast and alongside rivers in semi-nomadic tribes, with no permanent buildings or written records. As a result, very little is known of this period. The Portuguese arrived in April of 1500, claiming Brazil for Portugal. From the 16th century, sugarcane plantations along the northeast coast became an important part of the country's economy. The Portuguese tried to use the native indigenous people as slaves to produce sugar for Europe, but in the end, they resorted to bringing in slaves from Africa. The first permanent Portuguese settlement was established at São Vicente in 1532. Salvador was founded by the Portuguese in 1549 as the first capital of Brazil, and it became a major port for slaves and sugarcane. From 1808, the Portuguese king ruled his vast empire from Rio de Janeiro, but 15 years later, after the Independence War, Brazil ceased to be a Portuguese colony, declaring independence from Portugal in 1822 and becoming the Empire of Brazil. Number 2. Algeria. The borders of modern Algeria were created by the French colonists who came to the area in 1830. As a result of earlier tensions, which are too complex to go into detail here, a French army landed in Algeria in June 1830. It then successfully gained control of some of the territory, and by 1847 they had largely suppressed the Algerian resistance to the invasion, and the following year they made Algeria a department of France. French colonists sought about modernizing Algeria's agricultural and commercial economy, but lived apart from the Algerian majority, enjoying social and economic privileges extended to few non-Europeans. After 132 years of subjugation by the French, Algeria finally gained independence in 1962. This finally brought an end to a savage period of history in which some 1.5 million Algerians died, mostly from aerial bombing raids and slaughter by army units. Hundreds of thousands more were tortured as an entire nation was made to pay for resisting the might of overseas rulers. Number 1. India. The British first became interested in India because of raw materials and the possibility of reaching vast amounts of consumers. The area known today as India, and which at the time included modern Pakistan, was operated by the East India Company and was later taken over by the British government. As with all colonized countries, there were significant downfalls for the native populations. Indian people ultimately became seen as lesser citizens in comparison to the English, and the British controlled both the government and the economy. While education, modern goods, transportation, healthcare, and other aspects are sometimes seen as benefits of colonization, many believe it doesn't justify the act of the colonization itself. Britain used the idea of divide and conquer by using Indian soldiers to fight and maintain their presence in other colonized countries, such as Burma, which was discussed earlier. The Indian Independence Act of 1947 saw the United Kingdom partition of British India into two new independent dominions, India and Pakistan, an act that later caused further bloodshed. Tell us how you think the world would be different with...
All right, Shalom Akim, Zahab, Spirit Wind, Judah of the GMS Mississippi Camp, giving all honor and glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rokakodash. Also giving double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings to the house of David the elect. All right, and what you just saw was a presentation about European colonization, which in essence the Europeans are Esau. It's basically Esau, whether it's the British, the Spanish, or the Spaniards. All right, the Portuguese or the French. It's all Esau. It might as well be called Esau's colonization. All right, but what you just saw was the manifestation of the scriptures, man. The prophecies being brought into fruition. All right, and with that being said, I'm going to continue on with the lesson. Okay, I'm going to start with Genesis. Genesis 27 and 38. It says, And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. So we all know that the Most High works on the left and the right hand side. All right. All right. The Most High controls good and evil. Okay. I'm gonna see if I can find that scripture right quick. If not, Baka Shav, brother, could just put it in the comment board because I wasn't expecting to bring this one out. Yeah. Proverbs 16:4. Yahweh hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. All right. So the Most High created the wicked, and as it tells you in Psalms the 73rd chapter, that he set them in slippery places. He set them in slippery places to lock. Okay. So going back to Genesis, it says Genesis 27:39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven. All right. And it says, verse 40, And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And that's exactly what Esau did. When Esau came back into power, all right, around the 1400s, during what is called the Renaissance period, all right, he came back in power. He wasn't under Jacob's dominion, okay? And along with that came European colonization, okay? So what you just saw was a video manifesting or showing a visual of the manifestation of the prophecies mentioned in Genesis 27 and 39 and 40, okay? But how did he get those lands? Each landmass that Esau conquered came with the slaughtering of millions of inhabitants of those lands, okay? And that video was only an inkling of what Esau really did. Okay? So just bear with me, brothers. Habakkuk 2:12. Woe to him that buildeth the town with blood, established a city by iniquity. It tells you, it even told you in that video that part of the colonization process came with deception. All right? Part of that colonization process came with murder. All right? Mass genocide. When Esau came to every land, he brought along with him infectious diseases, man. Whether it was to Gad or those so-called aboriginals of Australia, the Central South America, New Zealand, any country that he conquered, all right, because Europe itself was conquered by who? Alexander. If you watch the movie, I believe it's called Eagle. I believe it's the movie about the Romans, a Roman centurion. So it was either called Eagle or the Centurion. But basically, they showed you in the movie how Esau was penetrating Europe at that time, which was ruled by Japhet, man. All right? But how did he get that land? Okay? How did he get that land? All right? That's why it tells you in Maccabees. Wait, just let me get it. That's why it tells you in Maccabees. See, there's an antagonist in the scriptures. It's mentioned all throughout the scriptures, not just the book of Obadiah. All throughout the scriptures, the book of Obadiah sums up his demise. Okay, First Maccabees 1:1. It's First Maccabees 1:1. It says, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. All right, but the point was, it says, and it happened after that Alexander, the son of Philip the Macedonian. Why was Philip called the Macedonian? See, this is where those Israelite groups say that Esau is Japhet. No, Esau penetrated. Esau conquered Europe, man. He overthrew Japhet, man. That was his thing. Okay? That was his thing. He overthrew Japhet. So he became Philip of Macedonia, man. Because the Grecian armies, the Roman armies, they overthrew Japhet, man. All right, Germany, Tarshish, all those lands all those lands were inhabited by Japhet until Esau came and penetrated it, man, and conquered it, man. All right. Going back to the lesson. All right. Habakkuk 2:12 again. Woe to him that buildeth the town with blood, and established a city by iniquity. Who is he that buildeth the town with blood, man? All right. Who is he, man? And if Esau told you exactly what if the Most High told you exactly who this person was, like the apostles always say, Esau will burn the Bibles, man. Okay? Psalms 49:11. The inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. All right? Amerigo Vespucci. All right? Leo Africanos. Okay? The Americas period, man. Columbia goes back to who? Columbus. All right? Brothers are from like Jacksonville, Florida. I stay in Jackson, Mississippi. Where did they get their name Jackson from, man? Andrew Jackson, man, the Gadite Slayer, man. Psalms 49:11 again. The inward thought is that the houses shall continue forever, and the dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Okay? That's part of the colonization or the conquering process, man. All right? Let me go back to Genesis 49 again. I'm going to read that verse again. Genesis 49. No, I'm sorry. That was Genesis 27. Genesis 27. Genesis 27:39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, talking about Esau, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. Because what the main purpose of the colonization process, or Esau colonizing the world or conquering the world, which they called you colonizer in the movie Black Panther. All right, that was your little byword. All right, but the reason behind that, because you wanted the fatness of those fields, man. Forget what they taught you in school, man. You wanted the fatness of those fields, meaning that you wanted the resources, man. Starting with North America, Central America, South America, where most of the 12 tribes dwell, but also to the other heathens, man. To Japhet, those lands that you conquered by Japhet, you wanted those lands for your expansion of your empire so you can have hold of those resources. That's why you became a world power, because you made a monopoly of the resources of the earth, man. Also known as the fatness of the earth. Whether it was the gold, the oil, the silver, all right, or it was the crops that those lands produced, man. That's the fatness of the earth. All right. Genesis 27:40. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shall serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass. Oh yeah, by thy sword shalt thou live, man. You're military, man. All right, you're military, man. You know? Hey, man, Esau, man, you see, your skirt's been pulled, man. Your skirt has been pulled, man. All right, we know who you are, man. That's why it says, then shall that wicked be revealed. Because at one time, see, we were taught by you. We were taught by the man that stole the world, man. So he gave us his version of the story. All right? He gave us his version. So we didn't know that this was Esau in the Bible because when we read the Bible, we read it through his version of the Bible, so-called Christianity, man. Christianity, which is a offspring of Roman Catholicism, which is the offspring of the Babylonian doctrine, man. All right, you know I'm talking and typing, so I'm sort of throwing myself off a little bit, but I'm just gonna type it up. I'm gonna type it up a different way, you know. Micah chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity. Who is it that devised iniquity, man? Esau. Iniquity goes back to the word inequity, man. All right? False balances, man. All right? Bad judgment. Not using the law, statutes, and commandments, man. Deception. Like I said in the video. And work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. Verse 2. And they covet fields. What is it referring to when it says they covet fields? All right? What is that referring to? Okay? It's talking about this so-called European colonization. All right? It's talking about this European colonization, man. Top 10 countries of European colonization. I think it's only a handful of countries that haven't been colonized, and the only reason why they haven't been colonized because mainly the terrain was difficult, or it was hard for Esau to penetrate their land. But those countries still owe ties to Esau, man. All right. See, Esau, man, you've been discovered, man. You've been found out, man. Micah 2 and 2, and they covet fields and take them by violence. It tells you, that little video presentation you brothers just watched, the narrator tells you that approximately 1.5 million natives were killed during the colonization process. The population was 300,000. Now it was only down to 70,000 within a 50-year process, man. All right? Micah 2 and 2. Who is that talking about, man? All right? And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house. Because once you colonize their land, you'll keep the natives in their land in most cases, but they'll be damn slaves. Then you reform them. They have to discontinue from their traditions. All right? You'll rob them of their resources. You'll control their economy. All right? You'll control everything. That's oppression, man. That is oppression. The so-called Native Americans are oppressed. They're on reservations. You oppress a man in his own house, man. Even a man in his heritage, man. All right? But Esau, your skirt has been pulled, which is part of the prophecies too. Okay? Esau been a devil, man. Second Thessalonians 2 and 8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. And the spirit of his mouth is these prophecies, man. Responsible for pulling down strongholds. And shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, man. All right? So, and that's the point, man. The wicked has been revealed. Who's that wicked? Esau. Okay? See what this word wicked goes back to. I've done a lesson on this not too long ago, Then shall that wicked be revealed.
Strong's G 459. Animus. Animus.
All right, that word wicked Wicked goes back to the Greek anamos, anamos, and it says lawless, not subject to the Jewish law. So let me ask you, Akim and Akwathium, this. Is Esau keeping the so-called Jewish law, which is really the Hebrew law, the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High? Is he keeping that? No. There are gay parades, all right? There's bestiality, all right? As a matter of fact, to keep the laws will make you strange, all right? Not subject to Hebrew law, or positively wicked without law. Lawless, transgressor, unlawful, wicked. It says destitute of the Mosaic law, of the Gentiles, departing from the law, a violator of the law, lawless, wicked. You follow none of the laws in this country. You follow none of the laws in this country according to the Bible. 1983 was considered by Ronald Reagan, if I'm not mistaken, the law. This was supposed to be the land of the Bible, man. All right, but you don't keep any of the laws. Okay. You don't keep any of the laws, man. When you go to court, you're supposed to be judged. Since this is one nation under God, so to speak, you're supposed to be judged based on the laws, statutes, and commandments. Oh, okay, she committed adultery. You have proof? Okay, we got the proof. Hey, death sentence. And it's not supposed to be a 20-year death row. Okay? Oh, he stole something? Well, according to the law, he has to return it sevenfold. All right? Period, man. All right. But like I said, we know who this is talking about now. That wicked. All right. The mystery of iniquity doth already work because the Romans were already in power. But, I'm going to leave it at that, man. I hope you brothers are edified. Once again, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua by Hashem Kakodash. Double honors to our apostles, a great millstone rule well. Peace and blessings to the house of David the elect. Till the next time, Abba Babal. Shalom.